Hi, I'm Kristen St. Clair, crafter at Martha Stewart Living. Who doesn't love a pretty accent pillow, especially one that's handcrafted? This pillow is needle felted, but not the traditional way using wool fibers like this. Instead, we're using wool yarn. You will need a paper template, a quilting ruler, a pencil, wool fabric, tailor's chalk, a felting needle, scissors, wool yarn, and felting foam. The first step is to create a paper template. So I have a piece of paper here and I've created a grid, 1.5 inches by 2.5 inches. This grid is gonna help me create a perfect diamond pattern. First thing I'm gonna do to create the diamond pattern is find my center squares. That's right here in the middle. I'm gonna take my quilting ruler and line up in the corner of each grid and make a diagonal line with my pencil. And then I'm gonna go the opposite way and do the same thing. And you're gonna continue to do this until you have diamonds all over your template. Once you've drawn all your lines, your template will look something like this. Now you'll need your piece of fabric. I'm using this nice thin piece of wool fabric, 2 inches bigger than my pillow form, so that when I sew it, I have some seam allowance and it'll fit in perfectly. So I'm laying the template directly onto my piece of fabric. And because I've done these lines with pencil, it's actually scored the paper, and this is how I'm gonna transfer the design onto the fabric. Fold on all diagonal lines and use some tailor's chalk, that's a little pen, and I'm just gonna follow those lines. Keep the paper in place, continue to fold. The paper actually works as a straight edge. Continue to transfer this template onto the fabric. Making a paper template always helps so that you're not ruining your fabric by jumping right in and trying to draw a design on it. If you're making more than one pillow, you can continue to use this same template. So once you have the lines going in one direction, you have to go in the other direction. Start up in this corner and start tracing and folding. And you can see that diamond pattern appearing. Once your template is transferred onto your fabric, the next step is felting. This is the fun part. What you need is a felting piece of foam. You never want to felt directly on your table, you will break your needle. So you always need a soft surface underneath. You want to lay your fabric over, follow my template, and cut a small piece of yarn. Now you need to be using wool yarn with wool fabric. That's what you felt with. Because on this little needle are teeny barbs, and what they do is they pull the wool through into the fabric. Usually you do this with a loose fiber, so using a woven yarn is really interesting. And it also helps you create these perfectly straight lines because it's already in a piece of string. You just go in this up and down motion and you will see that with just a few strokes like I'm doing here, already it is pulling through the fabric. Cut another piece here and tack down this length, keeping it right on that blue line. Continue to tack down your yarn. Felting is kind of a magical thing. Look at this. How it pulls through, and it actually looks like a fuzzy line on the back side. I've laid down all the wool yarn. I'm just going back now so that my underneath side looks something like this. I've completed felting, and I've actually sewn my pillow together with a blank piece of fabric on the back side. On the sewing machine, I went around the edge, leaving a 1-inch seam allowance and a 12-inch gap in the top side of the pillow so that I could insert my pillow form, and I've hand-stitched that top seam done. Now I have a handcrafted pillow to put on my couch.